So this is going to be a comprehensive review on the Suna Nomi, also known as the Sand fruit. I'm going to go over every single aspect of this fruit and how good it is at every part of the game, including PvE and PvP. I'll be rating it out of 10 in 4 different sections: leveling, bosses and CBs, dungeons, and finally PvP. For PvP, I'll be rating it out of 20 because I don't think it's fair for a fruit that's mainly made for PvP to look horrible in the other sections in comparison to every other fruit. But before I start rating it, I want to go over its kit and its damage skill. Move 1 is Desert Cutlass. It's a one-hit move that you can hold and lunges in front of wherever you aim your mouse and block breaks. Its initial cost is 35 stamina. Move 2 is Desert Cutlass Frenzy. It's a 5-hit move that you can hold and aim, not into the air. Lunges at your opponent and guard breaks them like normal Desert Cutlass, but acts like a grab, so it holds down your opponent in place doing all 5 hits. It also costs 35 stamina. Move 3 is Desert Flight. It's a flight move that's similar to Mara. It initially costs 28 stamina and drains 3 every half a second. Move 4 is Desert Storm and has 20 hits in total. You can also hold it, and it also slowly launches your opponent into the air. It does not guard break, but it does a lot of hits, so it has a good chance of guard breaking your opponent. It costs 45 initial stamina. Move 5 is Desert Spot Up. It is a one-hit move that can also occasionally hit twice, especially if you line it towards a wall, in which it rides up a wall and can hit multiple times. You can also hold it, and it also does guard break. It costs 55 stamina. Move 6 is the Ultimate Desert Railgun, a one-hit move that has a suction effect that pulls in anyone in its range and explodes. It also guard breaks because, you know, it's an ult. It costs 90 stamina. Moving on to the scaling. So when I was doing the test for the scaling, I was doing it against a person that had sea beast armor, not Kraken armor, or a dummy. So some of these numbers might be off when I was doing the tests. Some of the numbers were off, but I tried to like figure out a mean, and most of the times it would average out to around these numbers. But sometimes it wouldn't. It'd be really annoying. But for the most part, these are the numbers I was getting. I know that if the higher level you are, the different they scale, but I have no clue how it's going to change in future updates. As of update 4, the moves scale like this. Cutlass, every 20 skill points, it increases by 1 damage. Frenzy, every 50 skill points, it increases by 1 damage. Storm, every 30 skill points, it increases by 1 damage. And Spada, every 15 skill points, it increases by 1 damage. And that's how the fruit scales. All the moves really have different scaling, which I find weird, because most fruits either have like 1 or 2 outliers, but the entire moveset isn't a complete outlier, so yeah, that's how it scales. Now moving on to section 1, aka the PvE. But before I move on, here are the stats to my PvE builds. I have another fruit during the PvP section that's more well built for like everything in the game, so aka PvP and PvE. It's a more sword focused build, so when that one shows up, I'll tell you. But yeah, that one I would honestly recommend over this one because you're able to do PvP and PvE. It's a really nice build. Again, it helps because I specifically made it so you could do enough sword damage to start destroying your opponent in the current update, and also do enough damage to kill NPCs in dungeons. But they'll probably change. You'll probably put a lot less depending on what the cap is later. But for right now, that's what the build I would recommend. I'll probably update it later when 4.5 hits and the sword nerf comes. But for right now, that's probably the kit I probably recommend. But if you're not a PvP player, this is the kit I kind of recommend. So the first thing I'll be rating out of is level. Now, of course, most people won't have a legendary fruit when you start up the game, you know. Probably won't have a Suna, but if you're in a circumstance where you do get a Suna, or you can choose legendaries and you can get a Suna, it's a pretty good choice. So if you gather them up all with Storm, you basically one-shot them. You can also use Spada while they're in the storm, so you can kill them. And if they're also chasing you, you can also throw down a Spada, jump at them while keeping them in the line, and they'll all take a ton of damage or just straight up die. You also have Desert Cutlass Frenzy, which if you hit, again, it's like a grab. You'll have iframes, you'll spin around, and as soon as you land, you have a AoE hit, killing everything around it and killing that. You can kind of do that in dungeons as well, but for leveling, it probably won't kill everything, depending on how high level you are. But, you know, you should be fine overall. And you also have normal Cutlass, which also does hit multiple enemies at the same time. So if they're blocking, you can hit them all at once. Even if they're not blocking, you can hit them all at once. It's pretty nice, especially if you're gathering them. So overall, for leveling, I'm giving it 8 out of 10. It's pretty good. It's not the best, because there's like 4 or 5 fruits that I think are better at leveling. But it's a pretty good fruit for leveling if you're able to get your hands on it. I'm moving on to bosses and CBs. For normal bosses, especially with a team, it's amazing. So Storm is such a good move. You can just place it down and cause the enemy to get spun up into the air. It's really good. Just being able to lock down the boss and stick them up into the air, letting your teammates get hits in is really good, especially if you got other partner legendary fruits like Pika or Magu. Goro, you can do a light ray into it. You could do stomp into it. You could do a bunch of stuff. You know, Goro can do all of its lightning attacks. It's really good. And you also have your Spada, so you're not just standing there. You can also do Frenzy while in the air if you want extra damage. Or you can just use Frenzy by itself, which again is a grab that puts you down with iframes, allowing your friends to get hits in. It's really good for that as well. It's 2 moves that lock down the bosses, so it's like really, really good for that. You also have your ult, which again, if your friend is getting hit, you can just suction the boss away from your friend, and they'll take the damage. And also having a flight is really nice to get away. So if you flight into the air and the boss does not have a way to hit you up there, you can just kind of let them aggro the boss and do combos into it while you're in the air, just hitting them. Again, that's also a really good getaway tool. So yeah, for overall normal bosses, it's amazing. But then moving on to sea beasts is where I start having issues with it. Now against sea serpents is where I think it's just not good. The main problem being is you can't get the serpents close enough to the shore where you can hit them with Spada. Being your main damage dealer that's off cooldown the most. You still can chuck normal cutlasses at it and throw storms at it, but overall it's not amazing. You have problems against sea serpents overall, but I mean you still at least have like a couple moves to hit them with. Now when it comes to krakens, it's actually amazing because you can lure them up to the shore. You can throw down a Spada and do like 40, 30, you can do 20, 30, 40 hits. It's ridiculous. You can do a ton of damage. So, you know, it's kind of like the polar opposite. And again, you have access to your flight. If you fly high enough, the Kraken just can't touch you. So it's really good for that. And again, you still have your Cutlass and your Storm to hit them with. Overall, for bosses and sea beasts, it's amazing. Not nearly as good as something like Pika or other top 5 fruits for bosses, but it's still amazing. It's still rated around a 9. Again, the only issue really being sea serpents, but like, who cares about sea serpents, bro? I mean, you know, that's just a knock at it. Again, I'm giving it a 9 over like a 10, basically. But it's still amazing. For PvE, it's still amazing. Go for it if you're literally just looking for PvE and you want a cheaper fruit than something like Pika. It's still amazing for that. Now moving on to dungeons. It's probably the best dungeon fruit in the entire game, especially for soloing. When it comes to soloing, because you have flight, you're basically immune to any like normal NPCs. So things like sword style users, Karabachi users, you just fly into the air, get close enough to the floor where they can't hit you, but you can hit them, and then throw down a storm, which instantly one-shots them. So, you know, it's the normal rounds are a joke. And when it comes to bosses, you can throw down a storm, Spada them, and then they'll probably die. If they don't die, you can still jump into the air and Cutlass Frenzy them. So it's even then, it's still a joke. And this is, again, without having to use your ult. But by round 20, you'll have to use your ult. So you can do Storm, Spada, and then do your ult. And if for some reason they're still alive, you can Frenzy them. It's a joke, honestly. Again, this is the best dungeon fruit in the game just because of the flight. You don't have to worry about anything. It's just amazing. If you really just want to get a fruit just for purely dungeons and fruit grinding in general, this is like the best. It's a 10 out of 10. There's not much else that's better than this thing. There isn't anything else that's better than this thing. So the fact that I can solo with that also tells you that it can solo. I mean, it can do it in groups. So if you for some reason want to do it with your friends, go ahead. You'll be fine. You'll be set. Again, just Storm is such a good move. Does a lot. This is again mainly with a dungeon build. You could do it with like a normal sword build or something, but for dungeon build, that's what makes it so good. Again, just being able to one-shot everything and then just destroying the boss. It's an amazing fruit for dungeons, and I'd give it a 10 out of 10 in dungeons. It's just so good in comparison to everything else in the game. Like, Pika doesn't have anything on this. It's just amazing. And also, if you want to know how good it is at ship farming, it's not good at all. I'm not going to rate it on the list because ship farming's outdated. If you're ship farming and have a legendary, go do dungeons. Like, I mean, I just said that it's amazing for dungeons. So why do ship farming? Unless you're AFK ship farming, which again, you don't need your fruit for. Plus, you have a flight, so it helps. The reason I'm mentioning it right now is to just be comprehensive, but it has nothing to do with its grading. You know, just telling you, if you want it for some reason to ship farm, it's terrible. Don't do it. Moving on to PvP. Out of all the sections, this is the most subject to change. Again, they can either nerf or buff fruits. And again, they're already nerfing swords. So the footage that I'm using is with Desert Colors. And I know in the next update, I don't think this will be that good, depending on how much they gut Desert Colors. So, I mean, in the future, you'll still probably have access to things like the Hollow Fang, which are nice, easy guard breaks to extend with. So, I mean, even then, you'll still probably be good. And even Kraken Greatsword is good enough. I mean, any sword that has like a really good guard break is good enough. So even if a lot of these things change, I don't know, like you should be fine. Unless they nerf something like Desert Colors to not guard break, then good luck with that. But even then, you should be able to still use it as extender river fast enough. But yeah, out of all the sections, this is the most subject to change. So with that out of the way, I'm gonna actually be talking about it in PvP. So for the PvP section, I'll be using 3 different sets. One being 2 sword style build, 2 being the normal sword build with black leg. You can also use Rokushiki, and 3 being a fruit. Out of the 3, I think that the 2 sword style build is probably the best and is gonna age the best because unless they change Raging Whirl and how it works, or Desert Colors and how it works, you're gonna be set. You have 3 extenders which do a ton of damage, and you'll be able to like win every match in around 1 to 2 interactions. It's just amazing. Again, if they don't change Raging Whirl, you should be set with this build. Same goes with the normal sword build. Again, you can use Rokushiki or Blackleg. Doesn't really matter. TBH Rokushiki is probably better because you don't really need the Collier guard break. I mean, it doesn't hurt to have. I run Blackleg just because I have that out of habit. Again, Crab Cutlass is nerfed. In the footage, I'm gonna be comboing the Cutlass, but you know, you can use something like Hollow Fang as a substitute, or you can use any other sword that has an extendo or starts a combo. But again, because of how dumb Cutlass is, you just instantly have like an instant starter or a guard break that can extend your combo. And the damage from M1s in this update is just insane. But even after post nerf, they'll do 35 M1s. So even if you still want to go for a sword build, it's going to be still good as hell. Again, having the Hollow Fang dagger as an insta guard break is really good since it doesn't push back, it seems. But I mean, in the next coming update, if you want to mainly focus on Blackleg, it's going to be pretty good as well. If you're not, since the M1s for Blackleg are 44, that's what I'd honestly recommend next update as well. Again, sword builds are still amazing. You can still run them. It's still really good. If you don't want to use torso style and you like tempoing around and don't want to change out every time you want to play PvE and PvP, go ahead and run this build. As for the fruit build, I wouldn't recommend it currently in 1v1s due to the damage input in comparison to swords. And I think this is probably going to be a problem for a while. I mean, you could still do it, but I wouldn't recommend it currently. But next update, I would recommend doing it with Blackleg because of your 44 M1s. And you only really need 325 points into Blackleg to max out its damage and moves. So, if you really want to go for a fruit build, I would recommend this instead of the one you're seeing on screen, because this is just my PvE build. But again, like, damage isn't going to be the best because overall damage with fruits is not the best. You're mainly relying on M1s. But next update, when swords get nerfed, it'd probably be a lot more viable to run something like Blackleg M1s into fruits. It'd be really good. Again, probably more viable next update. It's not amazing. It's decent for what it is. I mean, in 2v2s is at least pretty good. But yeah, overall for the current PvP, because again, you win in 1 to 2 interactions, it's super broken. It's like straight up the best fruit for PvP. Even if you don't think it's the best fruit for PvP, it's still like top 3. So even that. So I'll just be giving it a 20 out of 20 for PvP. It's amazing. There's nothing like it. It's the best PvP fruit in the game. And if you don't think so, it's still top 3, so it doesn't even matter. 20 out of 20. So yeah, overall for both PvE and PvP, I'm going to give Suna no Mi a 47 out of 50. It's probably the best fruit in the entire game at doing like everything. So if you're thinking about eating it, I would highly recommend it. It's amazing. It's my personal favorite fruit in the entire game, and I think it's an S tier fruit. So yeah, like, subscribe, leave suggestions for future videos, I don't know, comments and stuff. If there's anything that you think I left out, put it in the comments. I'll address it in the comments if it's the case. I don't know, maybe there's something I overlooked. And if anything changes within the future updates, I'll try to put it in the pinned comment below. Hopefully nothing too much changes because I don't want to re-review it. I mean, if it gets completely overhauled, I'll have to, but you know what, it's fine. It should, comment should suffice. Well, I guess it's time to spin the wheel and figure out what I'm going to review next. See how long. Because I swear, if this is like a common, this is going to be horrible. That video would be like a couple minutes. Like, I don't know. Hopefully this is actually usable. And we'll be chilling. But yeah, let's see what I get. Come on, don't be... Are you joking? Got Mochi. Let's pray that Mochi even comes out next time, because If it doesn't, I'll have to respin. Or you know what? I'll give it to Pika. Because Pika's like right there. So you'll either see a Mochi review or a Pika review next time. Let's see what happens. If it doesn't come out in 3.5, yeah, that's gonna be a problem. It's gonna be a Pika review. So pray for whatever it is. I mean, I'll take it, I guess. Cool with anything. I mean, I already have an account with Pika, so I mean, this will be a lot better than having to reset Suna for it. So yeah, I'll take it. I'll take it. So next time, after that, we won't get something dumb like this. But again, if Mochi comes out next month or in the following 2 weeks, I will post a Mochi review. All right, as soon as possible, I'll get it. It's gonna suck, but you know what? It is what it is. It is what it is. I'm about to build up my alt account now because I'll probably start eating fruits on my alts instead of my main because that's just how it is, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what to say. But yeah, thank you for watching and watch out for the Mochi review. If Mochi comes out next time. If not, you're gonna see a Pika review. So I mean, hey, again, thanks for watching. Sub, like, whatever. Bye.